Hey, well, here we are. We're back in the studio for the Hustle Nation Network we got going on. Got a little of the hustle in the cup going. And, it feels good to be back home. Feels good to see my dog be laying in my bed. But I do miss my mom and look forward to getting back up there as soon as possible. Already making plans on that. Got a new book right here. It's a really awesome guy. Name's John Maxwell, trying to get this thing so there's not so much glare and everything like that. But looking forward to embarking on that book right there. Last year, I read 38 books, and I don't do audio books. I've had a lot of people ask me, said, well, where do you find time? What do you do? How do you make that happen and everything like that? When it comes like a couple of videos ago, I did a thing on execution. And the thing is that when you make it a priority, it's going to happen, or you're going to find an excuse. There's always going to be something that comes up. The kids, the wife, the car, the tire, the this, the that, the husband. I don't care what it is, but you're going to find something, okay? And I guarantee this, if it's important to you enough, okay, you'll figure out a way. The caveat to this is there is not always an emotional payoff to doing it. And if that's the case, then it's going to be extremely difficult for you to do whatever task it is. And I'll give you an example. That deal with me and QuickBooks. Man, I'd much rather get all my teeth pulled than sit there and enter every one of those items into that QuickBooks, okay? There's not an emotional payoff for me. It's painful, okay? And we as humans are only doing one or two things. We're either seeking pleasure or we're trying to avoid pain. And that's really everything that we do in life comes down to one of those two things, okay? And one of the things that you can do is retrain your brain and get excited at the beginning of trying to embark on one of those activities that you really don't want to do, One thing about it is you'll find that poor people have large TVs and rich people have large libraries. I don't make the rules, okay? But I do have to play by them, and I at least have to be honest with myself and say they do exist, okay? If a person will show me all of the books that they have sitting on the shelf, I can pretty much tell you what kind of person they are, all right? The pen is mightier than the sword, which means that there is something to be said subconsciously for us to read something and then for us to actually write it down, as opposed for us just to speak it, okay? The spoken word is extremely easy and it's very flippant, okay? But when we actually go through the physical effort of picking up a book, opening it, and then reading it, it does something for us, okay? And the thing about it is that there's a tremendous amount that can still be learned from actual reading, okay? Do you have to read to be successful? No, you don't. Will it help you and make it easier? Oh, yes, absolutely. I believe 110% it will, okay? One of the most influential books that you'll ever hear about, and then one that really changed my life, was Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I'll summarize it up real quick. Basically, you buy something that will put money in your pocket for you to be able to purchase something else. And I'll give you an example. Instead of going out and buying a vehicle, you go out and buy a rental property, and when you collect that rent, you take that rent payment and use that to buy the vehicle with. And that way, eventually you'll end up with a paid-for vehicle, and you'll still have a rental property that's putting money in your pocket instead of just taking money out of your pocket to make the payment on that vehicle. And that's basically the whole concept. Well, that book, has done a tremendous amount for my generation and many people all over the world as far as changing the ways they do things, and that came from reading. So I would highly encourage to start reading, picking up a book, and just doing a chapter a day. You know, you can always find an extra 10 to 15 minutes. You know, there's no telling what it's going to do for you when you actually do that. You know, one of the things, a gentleman reached out the other day and asked me about my mentoring, and he was kind of like, well, what is it that, you know, you kind of bring to the table? And one of those things is that, you know, with having read 38 books, there's a lot of information that I have gathered that I'm able to put to use. And a lot of times people don't have that time to read maybe 38 books, only they read 5 books or whatever it is. So that's one of the things that the value in having a mentor is that they do those things. They go and see the speakers, they do this, they do that, and everything like that, and they're able to take that information to be able to help a person. Do you have to have a mentor to be successful, or a coach? No, absolutely not. However, you know, if you wanted to learn how to build houses, okay, and you went and you started out on a framing crew and you were just a general laborer, you're picking up trash, throwing it in the dumpster, how long do you think it's going to take before you're totally able to build a house? That I don't know. Let me ask you this. If you went and enrolled in a college course, I know here in Pensacola we have a 2-year degree that basically somebody can go from knowing nothing to, in 2 years, they can build a whole house, supposedly, okay? So they've accelerated that process because they did have a mentor, and guess what? They also had books, and there was a lot of reading that was involved as well, okay? So we kind of come back circle having to do with the reading thing. I am a huge proponent on reading. Everybody that I know that I would like to trade places with is a big reader. So going forward, folks, I want you to have a very wonderful day. Think about it when you can actually make some time, start doing some reading, and make some things happen in your life. You know, you only get one chance at this thing. It's one life, and a little more freedom would be a lot more enjoyable. It's Robert with the Hustle Nation.